Octera technology proposing a decentralized business solution for organizations of any type, size and budget. A meeting with Frederick Harron, speaker on creative business and ideas. In focus also this week for international news, Indian Prime Minister Modi calls for investment as he was addressing India diaspora in Houston, Texas on Sunday.
No business can sustain for long unless it anticipates the way of doing businesses and accepts the challenges. This may include to revolutionize the way of doing businesses through blockchain technology and artificial intelligence. In today's Business Connect, we will be meeting with the CEO of Octera Technologies Limited, Mr. Clifford Chun Kui, and the consultant Benito Eliza. Welcome to this new edition of Business Connect. The customer needs are the focus of many solution providers, companies. And recently you developed, Octera Technologies Limited developed the Octera SIBS. What's all about? Tell us about this.
In a very simple way, Octera Technology is here to revolutionize the way accounting, audit and taxation is being done by the use of blockchain technology and artificial intelligence.
Tell us more about your services. You just mentioned about taxation, about designs and all. How it works?
What we are doing is we are developing a platform in terms to integrate blockchain with the traditional double entry accounting system. So this means that it's going to be to use blockchain technology to build more trust, transparency and immutability. And which brings about more better governance and transparency in this field.
The customer needs are the focus of many solution providers companies, and Octera developed the Octera SIBS. Tell us about this.
Octera SIBS is the platform, as I mentioned earlier, in respect of integrating blockchain with the traditional world of accounting, taxation and finance. In Singapore this year, we won the Block Challenge Award in Singapore for the best application, business case application of blockchain. So practically it's a platform which businesses, accountants can use to do their day-to-day business, to build more trust and to give them extra tool to do their work.
And now we would like to know how different is blockchain from the European countries to the African countries?
It all boils down to the regulation. In terms of, in 2018, the European countries came together to discuss about the benefits of blockchain. But the African countries, if you would look at it, they are not new to technology as well, because the adoption of mobile payments, it's really big in Africa. And the biggest proportion of unbanked people in the world are in Africa. And with blockchain technology, this will help in the financial inclusion of these people within the society. So, and you have many countries like Tanzania, in Kenya, they are very fast adopting blockchain technology. Like just as an example, I read Tanzania put their public employees on the blockchain, and they managed to save $198 million.
And why is it important, it is vital, to educate people doing businesses about blockchain?
Blockchain technology is very similar to the internet 20 years ago. So whether we like it or not, blockchain is going to come. So it's very important for businesses to be able to understand blockchain and how it can be applied to society. So it's very important for that capacity building within the society to be able to harvest the benefits of this technology.
Octera Technologies is organizing a workshop in October. Tell us about this specific workshop. Who will be the stakeholders in it?
Yes, Octera Academy is organizing a 2-day training here at NSC Park Hotel, and the trainers will be Mr. Clifford and Mr. Leonel Kokos, a foreign trainer. The objectives of the course is for participants to understand blockchain and how blockchain can be applied in the real world. And also for all participants to understand the digital asset and the future of payments throughout digital assets. And also to familiarize themselves with the technical terms of blockchain and cryptocurrency.
How is blockchain changing the world, especially the financial sectors?
Actually, everyone is talking about the fourth industrial revolution, and it is being led by technology, and blockchain is one of them. How blockchain is changing the financial services world is firstly through the money transfer. Through blockchain, transfer between P2P, peer-to-peer, is possible with blockchain. You can even effect payment through your mobile, and only contactless payment. You have contactless card, and for blockchain you have transaction details, which is logged. Every transaction is being recorded on blockchain, and it also helps to reduce fraud. It is very difficult to tamper, to change details through blockchain.
Is Mauritius lagging behind in the adoption of blockchain?
Yeah, it is a fact that most world innovation are being developed in advanced countries. And Mauritius, we need to learn from these countries and to educate our people, businessmen in Mauritius about all these innovations. And also, I think the government is giving full support for the adoption of blockchain in Mauritius. I see lots of training being done throughout Mauritius.
And now we would like to know how and why should businesses in Mauritius embrace blockchain?
Yeah, to reply to this question, we need to look at the benefits of blockchain. With blockchain, you will have greater transparency, you have reduced costs, increased efficiency, and you have an improved traceability of all transactions. And also it has an enhanced security, which is associated with blockchain.
So you mean to say that this is applicable to all types of businesses?
Yes, it is a fact that blockchain can be used in nearly all sectors throughout the world.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump met at an Indian-American rally in Houston, Texas on Sunday as the nations negotiate for easing trade tensions. Modi said Trump told him during their first meeting that India has a true friend in the White House, and the US leader's presence at the event is proof of that. He also said he admired Trump's sense of leadership and taking ties between the two nations to a new level. Modi arrived in the US on Saturday after his government announced a $20 billion tax cut stimulus for companies, strengthening his speech to American chief executives about the ease of doing business in India. Germany's government has agreed climate policies including carbon dioxide pricing via emission certificates, costlier fuels, cheaper rail and a ban on oil heaters from 2026. German Chancellor Angela Merkel and her Social Democrat Vice Chancellor Olaf Scholz delivered a slew of supposed climate rescue measures Friday aimed at halving Germany's carbon emissions by 2030 to avoid defaulting on its 2015 Paris Treaty promises.
In this episode of Business Connect, we address the issue of creative business. It's one of the main problems that entrepreneurs are facing in business nowadays because of the rapid changes that are happening in the market, in the industry, and also in terms of technology and the way in terms of managing people. So we are meeting Fredrik Harren, who is originally from Sweden, but now based in Singapore. He came to Mauritius to speak to people on creative business. Let's meet him. Fredrik Harren, thank you very much for being with us at this episode of Business Connect. You're originally from Sweden, you're based in Singapore, you're a professional speaker, you speak a lot to the youth, you're an author, you wrote about 10 books, and one of them is the India book, which is in the top 100 best business books of all time. Can you tell us a bit more about your career and how you happen to be where you are now?
Well, the main reason I'm in Mauritius is because I have a passion for islands. I just love islands, so I try to get to speak a lot in different islands. I'm an island fanatic, actually. So I think this is the fourth time I'm here.
You write a lot about business and you speak also a lot about business, but many of your talks focus on creative business. Why are you so passionate about this topic, and why is it so important for businesses nowadays?
So my talks are on business, and specifically they are on business creativity. So how to be more creative in business, why we need to be more creative in business. And it started because when 25 years ago, I was 27 years old, and in 1995, I wrote a book about the internet. It's one of the first books on the internet. It's called The Internet and Marketing. And I started an internet company, and then I sold it. And in 1999, I realized I never really loved the internet. I loved the fact that the internet was new, and you can take the new thing, the internet, combine it with any industry, and you can start to innovate. So since 2000, I've just been studying creativity and business. So I came from a technology background, but for the last, well, almost 20 years, I've just been studying creativity, regardless if it's with technology or mindset or personal development, any aspect of human creativity.
So a lot of what is happening with the internet now, you had already foreseen it by the end of the 90s?
Actually, I quit the internet in 1999 because I thought we had developed all the interesting things on the internet. I thought the internet became boring. That was before Facebook, and everything is like a curve. You have all these ideas that you think will happen. That's why we had the dot-com bubble. We had all the ideas. People bought into the visions. They didn't happen. The investment went down, the bust. But if you look at all the ideas that people had in the late 90s, almost all of them now exist. It's just that the investors didn't have the patience. So yeah, almost all the visions from the mid-1990s and beyond have now materialized.
According to you, Frederick, what is the best way to develop creativity in terms of a business?
Okay, so as I said, I've been talking about creativity and change for 20 years, but it's never been more interesting than now, because the world is changing so quickly. And if the world has changed this quickly, we have to change quickly. And if we want to change, we have to do things differently. And if we want to do things differently, we have to be creative. So creativity is not just something, something flashy or nice or nice to have. It's a need to have, because that's the only way we can adopt to change. And the world is changing very quickly right now.
From what you just said, what advice would you give to people who are already in business or to want to be entrepreneurs?
Well, okay, so my focus is specifically on creativity, and I would say it's not from the perspective of you as a business person, it's not as a perspective of you as a leader, it's a perspective of you as a person. How can you become a more creative person, a more creative individual? It's a trait, it's a personality trait, and we need to approach it like that. And a lot of people have never been told how to develop their creativity. My aspect to this is not that suddenly you're going to become Elon Musk or Leonardo da Vinci or Salvador Dali. It's that everyone should become a little bit more creative. So if you're a leader, it's about how can I get my team to do what they're doing now in a slightly different manner. We don't have to disrupt everything and change everything. It's just take any aspect of what we're doing and say, okay, we're doing this now. What if we did it a little bit differently? Because a lot of creativity is just about nudging your brain to look at it from a slightly different angle, just moving a little bit like this, and you see the world differently.
So you have a book called The Idea Book. It's a book, of course, but also a notebook, which is a great gift, and it's been selling very well around the world. Tell us a bit more about this book and the creative aspect of it.
Okay, so my own book, The Idea Book, so there are tens of thousands of books on creativity, right? But I said, what if I write a book and combine it with a notebook? So I wrote my book, and then I made half of the pages empty. So it is a book, but it's also a notebook. That doesn't sound like a huge idea, right? But by making it a book and a notebook, I can sell it as stationery to companies instead of selling it as a book, because companies buy very few books, but they buy loads and loads of notebooks. So I go to companies and I say, well, hey, I have this very creative notebook. Would you like to buy one? Actually, yesterday, I sold to one company for 30,000 euros. They bought more than 2,000 notebooks from me. And that's almost the same amount that the average business book sells in his lifetime. I sold yesterday to one client. They would never buy 3,000 books. They bought one book for every employee. They would never buy one book for every employee. They never do that. But hey, let's buy a notebook for everyone. Why not? So it's much easier for them to buy my book because they buy it on the budget for stationery instead of buying it on the budget for management books, which is very small. When I had the idea, I had no clue I was going to sell 250,000 copies of this book. I didn't understand how good the idea was. I thought it would be a nice idea to have some pages for you to write down your notes in my book. I didn't realize I would be able to sell it on the stationery account. I did not realize it would be a brilliant gift. So I sell it as a book, I sell it as a notebook, I sell it as a training material, I sell it as a gift. My book is in the stationery section, in the self-development section, in the business book section, in books. So of course, all of this I didn't realize when I had the idea. But we have to understand that ideas are not just one thing. It's like I had a little idea, and then I developed on that, and I developed on that, and I developed on that. So too many people focus on the big idea, coming up with an Uber or an Airbnb or something. That's not creativity. I mean, it is creativity, but it's much more relevant to always say, okay, I have this idea, now how can I tweak it? 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 So to answer your question, no, when I had the idea, I didn't realize how good it was, but I realized I had something. I had a seed, and then I nurtured that seed and developed it.
It took a lot of work, I'm guessing, to come up with it.
Yeah, of course. So the book in itself, I sell thousands of copies because people would like the book and they buy the book, but I sell tens of thousands of copies because they like the book and they like the notebook idea. So I took one product and I created many different ways of selling it.
Entrepreneurs in business make a lot of mistakes nowadays. What are the main ones and how should they address it?
Okay, so I think the biggest mistake they do right now is that they're not understanding how quickly the world is changing and they are not seeing the opportunities that are opening up. I'll tell you an example. I did a speech about 1 year ago for a bunch of chicken farmers in one part of the world. And I told them that you need to look out for this new concept of plant-based meat, like Impossible Meat and Beyond Meat. This, that looks like meat but is made from plants. And they said, oh, no, it's no threat to us. It's never going to be a threat to us. We don't have to bother about this. Yesterday, less than a year after I was there, I saw that KFC launched chicken nuggets that are 100% plant-based, based on Beyond Meat. So, and the CEO of KFC said in this interview that if you would have told me 6 months ago that we would launch vegetarian chicken nuggets, I would have laughed. 6 months later, they're launching it in a store. And so suddenly everyone is talking about plant-based meat. So, and that's just a great example to see how quickly we went from that's impossible to, of course we're going to have it. I can go buy it, I can go to a KFC and buy it. And this is true for chicken farmers, this is true for social media, it's true for hotels, it's true for restaurants, it's true for mobile companies, it's true for all industries. So I call this idea perception. This is the ability to see how the world has changed and what we now can do that we couldn't do before, which is a certain aspect of creativity.
Do you have any tool to sharpen the perception of people, as in a mindset that they should adopt?
Okay, it's not one tool, it's a mindset, right? So for example, look at what people are doing in other industries. Don't just only look at your industry. Look at what are the latest innovations in all different industries and be inspired by what they're doing in that industry. Get connected to startups because startups are usually very good at seeing the latest trends. Like my background is I had an internet startup, right? From 95 to 99, I ran an internet company. And we would go into companies and say, hey, the internet is coming, you have to have a website. And they would just look at us and say, oh, we don't. Only 3% of the population have internet. Why would we have an internet website? We go, no, everyone's going to have internet. It's going to take 50 years until everyone has internet. No, it's going fast. We had to push and push and push and push because we saw something they didn't. So talk to the startups, look at the trends, not in your own industry, talk to young people generally. I mean, this all different aspects, and have sessions where you question your business. Say, okay, we've been doing this for a long time. What if we didn't do it like this? What's the latest trend that we've seen?
This is the 4th time you're in Mauritius. You clearly like the island. What do you think of the level of creative business in the country?
Mauritius is one of my favorite countries. So I'm writing a new book right now. It's called The World of Creativity, and it's about what we can learn about creativity from different countries. I was in North Korea 2 weeks ago to learn what can we learn about creativity from the North Koreans. And I want to have one chapter about Mauritius. And one of the reasons I'm here is to study this. Now, what can the world learn about creativity from Mauritius? Because I think Mauritius is a very special country. Not only because you have all, like no one comes from here, everyone is an immigrant, and you have this mix of cultures. That makes Mauritius very unique. But it's also this idea that you have reinvented yourself many times. Like first there was nothing here, and then one conqueror came, someone else came, then you were thriving on sugarcane, then suddenly you got competition on that, so then you went into textiles, and then you got competition from India, then you went into finance, then you went into tourism. So like you look at these things, many times you have reinvented yourself, which I think is such a brilliant example of seeing a change and adapting to it. And then at the same time, you have the dodo. And the dodo is an example of an animal that didn't change when the environment changed, right? So I have this kind of slogan in my head that maybe the chapter will be called something like redo or dodo. Kind of like you have to look at what you're doing, you have to question that and go into and change what you're doing, or you will, or your fate will be like the dodo. So basically, Darwin said survival of the fittest. But it's actually extinction of the rigid. And that's what happened to the dodo. So I'm going to visit a tomato grower here after our interview. And because they grow tomatoes here in the soil and been doing that forever. And then this grower said, no, let's grow them in coconut husk in a greenhouse, right? And suddenly the yield is like 10 times higher per square meter than if you grow it in the land. And that's a great example of something as simple as a tomato that suddenly this industry is just totally changing on how you grow tomatoes and how you can compete. How are you going to compete with land-grown tomatoes if someone can get 10 times the yield or 5 times the yield in a greenhouse, right? That's a perfect example of how every industry is changing and you have to change with the times.
Do you think that Mauritius and Mauritian entrepreneurs have the potential to do very well going forward in terms of creative business?
I think Mauritius has a DNA of questioning. Even though you've been very successful in an area, you still say, okay, fine, we've been successful there, but is there another way we can be successful? Is there, we need to change, or we will be in trouble? I think you've done this a few times, and when you do something a few times, it's in your DNA. And maybe it's connected to the fact that you are very many different cultures here, which kind of makes you less sure about the way we do things is right. Because if everyone is one culture, you believe this culture is right. But if you have many different cultures, it's easy to say, well, they do it this way. Maybe we should look at that. Or, so maybe we should take something from them. So maybe you're more fluid and not so rigid because of that. So that's what I'm here to investigate.
What do you think is the biggest problem that Mauritius faces as an island?
Okay, I said in the beginning, I'm passionate about islands. There's a problem with islands, though, and that is island mentality. There are two kinds of islands. Is one mentality with island people, because I live on islands. So one mentality is that you are an adventurer. You're a trader and you connect with everyone. And the other part of island mentality is that you isolate yourself and you think like it's us on this island and you forget about the world. So I just encourage the people on this island to never forget to have the venture mentality of an island people, not the isolation mentality of an island people.
Frederick, thank you very much for being with us. It was a pleasure having you for this episode of Business Connect. All the best with your researches on Mauritius and going forward.
Thank you very much.
In hope that you like our program, we do hope that we'll catch us up with you in our next edition. Meanwhile, you do catch us up on our website, on our MBC channels and YouTube channel, of course. And until next time, this is goodbye from the whole team.